Hello, hello. My name is Janine, and we are back with another episode of Trigger Warning. With me again, as usual, I've got Sammy and Gary. Hello, Sammy and Gary.
Hey,
Hello.
Janine. Hey, Gary. Good morning. How are you?
Today's episode, we are going to be talking about staking. Now, you might ask, what is staking? How does it work? You don't know anything about it. Maybe you know a little bit about it. So we're going to start with the fundamentals of staking. Gary, I'm going to come to you and just ask you for a
Absolutely.
broader definition, how it relates to maybe concepts that people do understand. And then we're going to move into asking Sammy a little bit more about staking and crypto and how that works. So I'm going to come straight to you, Gary. Go for it. Give us the fundamentals on staking.
Okay, I'll kind of paint with a broad stroke brush and a little background. If you're going to do anything, you should understand why it exists in the first place. Just we're trying to trust but verify, and in the world of trust but verify, how about we just verify, and then that takes care of the trust. So, like, why would somebody do staking? Generally, you have someone who's got a skill set, they got relationships, they got a hustle, they have something they're doing, and they do it better than the average person. And they realize that they're making money doing it. And they realize that they can make more money if they had more money. So they start telling associates, hey, I got this deal over here, and if I had more money, I could amplify my efforts and I could pay you this kind of return. And so in a broad stroke, so if it's like real estate could be tenants in common. I saw Jeff Bezos is wanting to start where you can invest in rentals for $100. It's the same idea. If you were doing a billboard and you can do more billboards and needed more money, you would approach more people. Traditionally, outside crypto, it's accredited investors, and then everything's transparent. Everybody tells you everything, and then you can see, like, somebody would be like, how are you able to make money? And you're like, this is what I do to make money. And if I had more money, here's how the more money would make this make more money. And that's how we make money. And then you enter a deal with them. Still can be a risk. Like in the poker community, you can stake somebody. If you got a good player, you can stake that. That would be highly risky. That would be highly risky, but there's many ways to stake somebody. But then it kind of just like becomes a cliche, and it's like a term, and you've heard it, you haven't researched it, you don't know what it means, you don't want to research it, and then somebody starts talking about we got phenomenal rates of return, heard of in anybody's lifetime or industry, right? That should be a huge red flag, because those Ponzi schemes run for a while, and you're like, well, okay, I don't really understand staking, but I don't want to ask anybody because I may look stupid, right? So then we have that whole thing that we got to go through, and then you put your money in, and let's say it's early in the Ponzi scheme, and you make some money, right? And you're asking questions like, how do we make money? And no one's giving you direct answers. Like, if I had a way to stake, I only have so much time in the day. I only have so many resources. I got regulations I got to worry about. I got offshore entities. I got all these things. And if I had a way to make money, it's not infinite. It's a finite amount a way to make money. So if it's a real true staking deal that works, you would be looking to close the ranks, because the more money you made in it, the less people you need. So with yourself, maybe you bring some folks in, and eventually you're going to be like, hey, we got too many people. Too many people are a headache. Like in the nonprofit world, we should actually say trigger warning on what I'm about to say. If you're a nonprofit and you take cash from people, whoever you took cash from now has the ability to go to the government, complain, and shut you down. They gave you $40 and you said you were going to spend it one way and you spent it another way, they could shut you down. You could take boats and cars and land and stuff that's non-cash and on trade or in on donation. But if you take cash, and so, like, if I take that nonprofit mentality and I bring it over to staking, when it gets to be more people than I can manage, it's just a nightmare. It just becomes, so I see stuff all the time, and I have a background in business, I have a background in nonprofit, I have a background in real estate, I have a background as to why somebody would do something. And if it's true and legit, the first reason is, why do you need me? And lots of times it's like daisy chain. Someone's got this thing over here, and 6 people later, you're talking to me. And I'm like, what do you need me for? If this thing really works the way you say it works, it should have never found me. It should be a close group of friends. It should be the circle should get smaller, and it should just be you're fortunate enough to know somebody. So when somebody brings me something, I put all that plus the fact in the past that I kind of broke those rules and threw $100,000 in something that I never got back. And that $100,000 caused the special agent from the IRS to come to my kitchen table with a list of names. I want to know if I could help him with an investigation. And he had my bank statement. You'd be surprised about what kind of information they can have on you. So I have all this background knowledge. So when we look at anything in the crypto world, I'm looking at it through that lens. I'm looking at it through the lens of probably extreme that most people haven't. And then anything, like if you say, here's how we're staking, and I say, how do you actually physically make the money? And then it becomes this great Wizard of Oz behind the screen. I can't tell you, it's proprietary. I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm out. Yeah. I went through that before.
I want to, this is where a lot of the wisdom, like if you're watching or listening to this podcast or this clip, you have to understand that this wisdom isn't just crypto wisdom. This is money life wisdom that I can tell you Gary learned the hard, painful way. Mm-hmm. The greatest victory that you can gain from watching and listening to this is don't learn the hard way like us. Okay, here's another thing of wisdom, and I think Gary brought it out, but I just want to highlight it again. If you can't explain what you're doing with the money to your spouse or to someone else, and you're just trying to fast talk them, or you explain why you did it, except for greed, and someone fast talk you, you're going to pump the brakes and take a step back.
Yeah.
Right? And there's times, even though it's cryptocurrency, I sit down with my wife over breakfast or, and I explain it to her to the point where she feels comfortable with what we're doing. And if I can't do that, then very many times there's a lot of red flags about a deal. Really, really important. Number one, don't learn the hard way like us, because it was painful and it was very touch and go until we dug out of the mistakes. If you can't explain it in plain English to someone else, it's probably not a good deal. And the other thing that Gary said, if it was offered to 5, 6, 10, 15 other people, all passed on it, and now it's come to you, you have to ask why it's come to you. Not to say that you're not an important person, but if someone has that much control over something that could yield that much financial gain, unless it's a scam, and they've run out of people to offer it to, and all those other people said no, now it's come to you, they're looking for another sucker. So, yeah.
Awesome. While we're on, you're on the mic, Sammy. How does staking and crypto work?
So almost every cryptocurrency transaction needs a little bit of money to be added to the transaction as gas fees to finalize the transaction or the calculation or something that's happening on the blockchain, right? And people that are have access to what's going on. Let's say we move $4,000 across the net, across a cryptocurrency transaction, and it required 8 cents of additional fees to finalize the transaction. And someone said, hey, you give me money. Every time 8 cents comes across the network, I'll give you 2 cents for helping me out, because I don't want to tie up my cash. And you got 2 cents of every transaction, and there were 100,000 transactions every single day. That's some passive income. That's pretty exciting. And 100,000 individual crypto transactions is not even. Some networks are doing 100,000 an hour or more. So that's how staking works. And if you had something that lucrative, First of all, I'd be keeping it super tight with people that I trust, because the thing is, once you put the money in, they want it, even though they let you take it out. With staking, you should be able to cancel the agreement and pull the money out anytime. If you can't, it's a problem. But that's how it works in cryptocurrency. They're supplying money so that the transactions and contracts and different things can fire off, and you get a piece of every single crumb that gets, that facilitates.
Sounds amazing. Sounds like a good deal. I think in future we might go deeper into this topic and look at ways that certain companies are using it, how people are using staking to actually make more money.
Yeah.
So this is a topic for further discussion in future. Any last words on this, Gary?
Just go slow. Like Sammy gave you a very real world. What he didn't tell you is in the background, people involved, trusted sources, physically watching it, setting up your parameters, setting up your when you're going to start, when you're going to stop, putting your stop loss in and putting all your things, and then the amount of money that you need to start with. And then once you have, obviously, we've been looking in the background. That's why I have all this general specific knowledge, right? And then you have your amount that you start with. Anybody who brings you the deal of what Sam is talking about is going to bring you everything else I just said, and they're going to show you. And they're going to be, here's why we're doing it. And then they're going to probably encourage you to maybe bring some vetted sources, and outside that, don't tell the masses. Or it's not going to be screamed from the mountaintop. So if you're seeing stuff, there's real stuff out there. It's just harder to find. So just go slow. Go slow and test it. The second somebody says we can't tell you what it is, we can't tell you what it is. The reason I didn't get my money back in the day with the IRS agent was because I was told there was a Russian company that also had invested funds. All right, and he's at my kitchen table. So let me make it very real for people. I got 2 lab Great Danes back in the day. They're about 90 pounds each. And I got somebody pounded on my front door, and I got a glass window next to it. And in the glass window, I see a gun and a badge. And I'm like, wow, somebody's pretty, but I'm not doing anything wrong. So I'm like, hey, what's going on? He's like, so-and-so IRS agent. I'm like, cool. Do you have a problem with dogs? He's like, well, they have a problem with me. I'm like, no, they're trained at the Sheriff's Academy. You're here making a lot of racket. I'll have him sit and you can talk to him. So he comes in, we're talking at the kitchen table. He's got a piece of paper. We're looking at it. I'm like, are you here to tell me my money's gone? Well, I can't speak to that. It's like, it's not even my case. I'm just helping a buddy because I'm in the area. Right. And I'm like, okay, my money is gone. Is there ever a chance that the money would come back? And he said, well, there's a Russian company involved in your funds. Got it. And I said, by that, you mean the mob? And so the answer is no, and you're going to keep it. I'm like, okay, cool. So then he starts reading off names, and I'm like, what do you have? And I pull the paper back that I'm probably not supposed to. I'm like, dude, is that my bank statement? And he goes, it is. And I'm like, well, since I'm looking at stuff, why don't I just help you with names, since I'm not getting my money back, right? But when I asked how they made money, I got the dog and pony show. I got the smoke and mirrors. I got the don't look over here, and it's trusted and it's top secret and we can't tell you, but I got the trust me, bro. Just trust me, bro, right? And it was 2008, and I was not in a good financial headspace. We just lost millions, and the economy crashed. Look up any athlete or sports figure who was once wealthy and now they're not, and look at the very last deal that they did as a last-ditch effort, Hail Mary, to get back all their money. It's kind of where I was at that moment in time. That's how I got there. So it can happen. Been through it. You don't have to. So, but just, yeah, disclaimer, just very, very real. Just slow down.
Okay, awesome. I should have probably preempted this episode with huge trigger warning. This might have triggered some people, but I'm glad that you.
Well, it'll get their blood flowing. They'll come in and they'll get their blood flowing. So,
here's the thing: if we can talk about these sorts of things candidly now, there's been a lot of like financial healing and like processing through it, accepting responsibility. Right? I didn't say blame. I didn't say, well, my former business partner, he was the one that got me sucked into this deal. It's accepting the responsibility and knowing it is 100% still my responsibility to take care of my stuff, to know what I'm doing. Because at the end of the day, I can't blame anybody else. Especially if I blew through all the warning signs and all the stop signs and all the best practices, and now I'm stuck with nothing or a negative. Now, that's the other thing. Some people think like, well, I'm okay. Well, yeah, if you actually did a net worth calculation, if you're a negative net worth and you're digging out of that hole is quite painful, that's where a lot of people get really, depressed and scared and go extreme. So, yeah.
So I'm glad, to my advantage, I'm glad that you had to learn those lessons, Gary, so that you've got the wisdom to share with us. And I'm glad that we are able to talk about this, like Sammy said. Great that we can talk about it and share
Right.
so that other people can learn. So awesome. So thank you. That is staking in a nutshell. And we look forward to seeing you again in the next episode. Have a beautiful day. Bye for now.
Everyone, bye.